even know if it was bad reffing. I just know that it was bad on our part. Go support your team. Go support band, cheerleaders.
The auto mix inspired Michael Ball. It's the first time he's ever raised his hands on a yes. So that's pretty impressive.
Scare that referee. Let's talk a little football.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Press Box. I'm so glad you can join us. We're missing a guy here. We got Jim Rayburn out. It is harvest time, so
it's true.
Thoughts on all of our farmers out there. We appreciate y'all. And
tell the
Jim's
truth.
One of them.
He got ejected last week. Got to sit out this week.
Oh, yes.
After the referee came in, Mike Gammons ejected him.
Gammons ejected him for targeting.
So he's out. Yeah, he's out.
All right.
For 1 week.
So we got to hold down the fort with Randy Young, Michael Best. We'll see how we do. Pray for us.
You got him right.
You're rolling, baby.
That's
Keep
right.
going.
Here we go. Let's see if I can stay in order without Jim over here helping me. Number one, Colquitt County, 30-7 winners over Lincoln. The Packers are open, but region play starts for that region, so that's going to be pretty fun. Here are the records here. We've got Lowndes at 3-2. Lowndes and Valdosta play. Quick predictions on that. Who's going to win that one, Lowndes or Valdosta?
I'll say Valdosta.
Valdosta. A lot of people say Valdosta.
Lowndes is coming on, though. They're playing a lot better here.
They are playing. Valdosta's 6-0. Richmond Hill is 3-3. And they'll be playing, Camden County is 4-2, and the Packers will be playing Camden County when they come out of open in a couple of weeks. So a couple of notes on the game against Lincoln. Charlie Pace had 125 yards rushing and 2 TDs, and his brother Nick Pace had an interception. Defense has done really well, of course, and done really well in the second half. So they did a good job. Kind of wind conditions made that game a little bit different, but nothing bothers the Packers. And just real quick, guys, who do you think is going to win that region? We won't talk about all the regions. Let's talk about that region. Predictions here. Do you think it's going to be Valdosta's year? Lowndes is coming on. Colquitt looks good. What do you think, Michael Best?
Valdosta. I think it's
You're
2 years.
sticking with Valdosta?
I'm going to go Colquitt. Valdosta, they have struggled at times offensively. Colquitt seems to be the complete package, at least at this point. But Valdosta's playing really, really good. I'm just really pleased with how Colquitt took care of business against Lincoln, which is supposed to be the best team out of the Tallahassee area.
And they have a prospect that's going to Georgia, by the way.
Yep.
Look very much like a prospect going to Georgia. He was a stud.
Well, there's several on Colquitt's team that may end up at Georgia. I know the tight end's been offered by Georgia. He's supposed to be the best player in the state in some publications. Yeah. But solid win, and to beat a Lincoln team that was playing with a lot of confidence, 30-7, that's pretty sporty. Yeah. So that's, at least as far as the region is concerned, I think Colquitt has played some tougher teams. I mean, they played Cedar Grove, which is one of those teams that, again, defending state champion. And Lincoln's really, really quality. Not that Valdosta hasn't seen any quality teams, but I think Colquitt's a little more tested and, again, a little more complete at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how that region plays out. It always is. That's always kind of exciting.
And that's always a big rivalry game to begin with, so that's going to be really, really neat when they lock up.
Yeah. And this is the Lowndes Valdosta play this week.
The Wintersville Classic?
Sweet.
Which I have a question for you guys. Like, what happens if they tie? Do they don't call it the Wintersville Classic?
I think it's
if
the
they
Tizeville.
The
Tizeville Classic.
Okay, I don't know. Sorry, I was trying a little too hard. All right, let's go to Thomas County Central.
I don't think they can tie. I don't think they can tie.
Okay, they can't tie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Region game, they have to play until somebody
That's true. All right, so it is Wintersville. All right, so speed of winning, let's talk Thomas County Central, 48-21 over Veterans.
Yep.
Great game, great start to the region. Tell me about this game.
Well, it didn't start off good.
Yeah, I was going to say,
we struggled.
Kind of struggled early on, right?
Yeah, and again, I think you mentioned something about the wind. We had 25, 30-mile-an-hour wind through the entire night, and kicking-wise, it created a problem for guys receiving kicks. We fumbled the opening kickoff and then go 3 and out. They go 3 and out on their first offensive series, and then we fumble the ball on our 24-yard line, and 3 plays later, they're in at 7-0. First time this year we've been behind, and you kind of thought, okay, maybe this is going to be one of those nights. But then 6 straight possessions past that, we scored touchdowns and put it away. It was 34-7 at the half. We score on our first drive of the second half to make it 41-7, running clock at that point. And we got one more on the board. It was 48-7, and going into the fourth, and they got 2 touchdowns, one off a pretty good pass reception. The leading receiver in the entire state in Class 6A plays for Veterans. a kid named Damari Franklin. And he's a good-looking athlete, but he had 53 total yards against us, including a 40-yard touchdown catch against our reserves. And then we fumble a handoff that they pick up and run in, and that's how the 21 came about. But a solid win. We end up with over 400 yards rushing, which was a little bit of a surprise. They set their defense up to say, okay, if you're going to beat us, you're going to run the football.
Yep.
So that's what we ended up doing.
And I saw offensive line just making
man.
some big holes, big enough to drive a hippopotamus through, is what Brian Davis said.
Brian Davis said it was big enough to drive a hippopotamus through. We know
You
you're
know,
driving a hippopotamus.
if you're driving hippopotamuses,
you need a big hole
you
to
need
go
a big
through.
hole to get through.
It's important.
that's a load.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Ricky Fulton ends up with 180-something yards. I think Trey Brenton had 130-something. And Sam Brown had another great night, threw for almost 200 yards, and had a highlight video leap over a defender that tried to tackle him about the 2-yard line. He catapulted over him and ended up in the end zone. And they flagged him for hurtling.
Oh, that's true. You can't do it in high school.
But as it turned out, because it was an evasive move instead of an aggressive move, in trying to, almost like you're trying to fake the guy out, the flag was waved off.
How about that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I learned something there
Yeah.
too. Mike Gammons could have asked us that one last
Yeah, you
week.
should have just asked Michael. He would
Yeah.
have known.
Yeah.
All right,
Michael
that's
knew.
easy.
He
I
knew.
knew that one.
Yeah, so
I should have called you.
I think one of these you're going to Tift County real quick. We
They're
know
struggling.
about Tift County, but to me, it's one of those like, well, let's just see how
Yeah.
good the focus is for Thomas County
Yeah.
Central.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
again, playing your best game no matter who you play.
Well, and right now they're struggling. They have changed their offense now 4 times through the season, trying to find something that clicks. And and in fact, I was hoping that Jim would be here so he could kind of give us a little bit of a scouting report. Thomas will beat them 28-7 a few weeks back. They played Northside Warner Robins last week, who now are getting their wheels under them. 3 plays into the game, Northside Warner Robins loses their quarterback, and I'm thinking, I get a text message about it. I'm thinking, okay, and it's 42-0 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So they're struggling, and hopefully we can just go up there and take care, as you said, take care of our business to our standard, and not give them a shot of winning their homecoming game, which is what it is too.
Yeah. They do have athletes over there.
I mean, they're a single
they
school
have some
county,
impressive guys. Yeah.
so they should have athletes. But right now they're just struggling, and our guys are playing at a pretty high level, and hopefully we can keep it up.
All right. Speaking of high level, let's go to Cairo over Shaw, 34-0. Give us
That's high level.
That's right. That's right. That's not really high level announcing. I'm trying to get to y'all's level.
It's pretty sporty.
But tell me about that Shaw game.
Well, Shaw is one of our first region game, and they're Raiders. They're black and gold, black and silver. That's scary.
They got to be tough.
And they're tough. And it was a good game. I was pleased with the fact that our defense has now shut out opponents for 10 quarters in a row.
Hey,
Wow.
And 2 in the Pelham game in the last 8 quarters.
Shutouts in the modern era of football is very difficult,
That's
by
right.
the way. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
And we got another running clock, so we got to get some kids in late, give them a chance to play. We had a defensive touchdown on a scoop and score. We had Jeremiah Williams, who is, you may be familiar with Jamichael Williams, who
Yes.
played back in the day. That's his son, and he had a good hit on a running back. Guy dropped the ball, he scooped it and went and scored. And so that was a defensive touchdown. Landon Vickers made a couple of field goals and got all of his extra points. And for a Wednesday night,
he's going to Florida State, right?
He
He's dressing out.
hey, he
on
may
Saturday.
be ready. You know,
that's it. That NIL deal sitting right there
go.
with
for,
Mr. Chick.
for a Wednesday night, we had a good crowd.
That's awesome.
And
Same here too. I want
Yeah.
to compliment the fans.
Yeah.
Because it would have been real easy on a Wednesday night for fans
Yeah.
to say, you know what, this is not our routine. They showed out.
I saw the
And-
same in Colquitt and the
Yeah.
same.
And for
Cairo.
all the schools that played
yeah,
on that
Thompson.
Wednesday night, people don't realize this is high school, and to switch things up that quickly,
Yeah.
and say, hey, we're playing, because high school you gotta,
Yeah.
it's a week long, you
Routine.
can't just end
Yeah.
up.
And you got
So,
tests and you got
yeah.
different things.
So all of
like
a
that
sudden,
kinda-
you're hey, we're cutting everything short and playing. And so all over the state, the teams that switched to Wednesday night, hats off to them, because that was a big challenge.
Yeah. Speaking of challenge.
Let me say this real
Oh,
quick.
all right.
Jamichael Williams kicked the only points in the 1994 Thomas County Central Cairo game, 3-0. Remember that one
I
really,
do.
really well.
Kicked a field
Straight
goal.
on kicker, about a
Yeah,
45
a little
yarder.
box toe straight
I
on
was
the kicker.
expecting it to go like into Wendy's
so were
parking
we.
lot, but
We
it was
were
right
expecting
down, right down
We were
Jackson
too.
Street.
And Jamichael, the funny thing was he was a kicker. And so, most of the time, teams don't really account for the kicker on kickoffs. You better account for
you better
Jermichael
account for
Williams
him now.
because he was hunting somebody.
And
with his box toe
that
boot,
kick,
right?
by the way, set up by a fumble from a sophomore wide receiver named Joe Burns.
How about that?
How about that? Yeah,
who
that-
pledged to never fumble again. I
yeah,
remember
that's
that.
it. That's it. That's it.
I remember that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Anyway, for what it's worth, a little
All right, so you
historical
got,
note there.
yeah, that's pretty neat. So you got Hardaway, who's 1-5. Just real quick.
Well, I think as I've said since the day
Before.
one, in its name itself, they're hard and they're away.
It's away.
Yeah.
So it's a game that's going to be tough. And really, when you look at it, you know it's a little misleading because they played. I don't know what their coach was thinking when he got this offseason going and signed up these non-region teams. They played Carver, they played Peach County, they played Northside Columbus. I mean, they played some
Ooh, Northside.
pretty solid
Yeah.
teams that are all going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're 1-4 or
Yeah,
1-5 or whatever they are.
But they're still hard.
But
and
they're
still
hard and they're away.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah.
away game. It's hard.
Are they still
And we are their homecoming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now look what they did to us on that little note.
See, we're homecoming too, so you're
Yeah.
rolling the dice now.
But I do think it's one of those things too of you know, the cert makers are going to, you know, make sure they're playing well, playing hard, no matter who their opponent is. This is one of those kind of like
Yep.
you can tell a lot by the state of your team when you're playing these games of like, okay, are we focused out?
And this schedule may work out for the best, but we realize that we have played 7 games through September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't had a day off.
Yeah.
So now we've got Hardaway, and then we're open, and then we've got Westover, then we're open, then we play Bainbridge. So it's going to take
Yeah.
us a month to play 2 games,
Yeah.
but we played 7 games in a month and
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
That's
Hardaway,
funny.
by the way, I think is garnet and gold, if I remember right.
All
which
right, how about that?
reminds you of the FSU Seminoles, who are back.
yeah, they're the Golden Eagles,
Something like that.
Golden
Okay.
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
So,
All right.
yeah, they're
well,
hard and they're away.
let's talk about the red and gold. Let's talk about Thompson
Let's
High
talk
School.
about
Are you
my
the
alma
sponsor?
mater.
right
Okay.
here. They
Here,
won.
wait. Before you start, we gotta set the
here we
mood.
go.
We gotta
Oh,
set the
man.
mood right there for you, Michael. All yours, buddy.
Look,
This,
Jim,
this was not my idea.
bringing
Jim.
back
This
some old
is not
times
my-
right here.
this is not
For
my
those of
idea.
you that are watching, I'm a 1978 graduate of Thomasville High.
a
proud
graduate.
graduate.
Proud graduate.
William Andrews and I,
Just
Yeah,
like
we're
just like that.
just like that.
That's right. You told them how to run. You taught
Listen,
him
back
that,
in the
yeah.
day, William Andrews and I we were like peanut butter and jelly. We were peas and
They
carrots.
came in 2 totally separate cans. is what it is.
2 different cans. A couple of years apart from each other.
Yeah.
The only difference was he was very good at football and I was not.
Yeah.
But I was a better trumpet player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
then
yeah.
that's worth something.
So
That's right.
just
It
take
is.
that with
That's
you.
right.
And
It looks
his,
good- it looks
and his
good.
name's on that block wall. I'm wondering where my name
It's
is.
I
coming,
get it.
Michael.
I
It's
get
coming.
it.
This looks good.
We've
by
been
you.
trying
This
to
looks
I like
good.
this.
It looks
So,
Hey, let's talk about the
Let's
game.
talk about the Bulldogs.
25-14 winners over Monroe, and you got a big game versus Carver, but you had to go to the friendly confines of Hugh Mills Stadium and
Wednesday.
Good live
on a
city.
Wednesday, on a windy Wednesday, and you jump out in front and then did a good job of that, but then let them stay in the game.
Can't let Monroe hang around.
How many times have you heard us say, if you don't put Monroe away early, you're going to have trouble?
Yeah,
And this was a great example of it.
yeah.
But they hunkered down
That's right.
like
They held
dogs
on.
do.
Bowed their back.
And and I tell you what, Monroe, you ain't no bulldog.
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Hey,
So-
two
That's
block
catchy.
two block
like that?
punts. I mean, I think
I
the
think I
special
invented
teams-
that back in the
You invented that
78.
Did you really? You claiming that
That was
too?
my idea.
2 block punts for the Dogs, so that was good. They got a lot of young dogs getting in this game too, so that was kind of good to see.
Yep.
And so you
And
see
it's
a
a
lot of
region
development.
win. Region win. So that's a big step.
Now, Carver is probably Carver's a very good team, so you're
Yep.
got a huge challenge coming into town. But kind of like really all the schools represented here, home field advantage is huge in
Yep.
region play, and it's going to be huge.
Well,
for
this is one of those
Thomasville.
games that Jim's been talking about
Yep.
since early on. I think Thomasville, looking at their region schedule, saw Northside Columbus as being an issue. Crisp County was going to
Yep.
be an issue for them too.
And Carver.
And Carver. So they're about to hit that stretch.
Yep, yep. And playing pretty good ball. So that's what you want to be doing. Let's go to Pelham. They lost 21-14 to Lanier, and they've got an open week. And Mitchell County beat Terrell County 26-22, got their first win, and they're traveling to Seminole County. And then Brookwood was open, so we were fine there. But we got Deerfield first region game. I would say Deerfield is Deerfield Brookwood game is going to be a close game. Deerfield had beat McClay, and so if that gives you an idea of how good they are, they're a pretty solid team. So
and it sounds like Brookwood's scoring points.
Offense is fine. Maybe getting a little more consistent on offense, and then the defense is kind of one of those games where you just have a bad series, right? You've had a couple of games where you just go out and have a bad quarter or a bad bad half or something like that, and you can't do that. You gotta put all 4 quarters together. So. Region play, they'll be defending the region crown, and that'll be fun. So with that, we're going to go to break, and we'll see you on the college edition. We got to talk Georgia, Missouri. We'll see you on the college edition. And welcome back to the Press Box. I'm so glad you're sticking with us. We're going to talk a little college football. Let's talk a little Georgia. Way too close for comfort, guys. I know that Michael is personal friends with Kirby because on Facebook you see his picture.
We had a long talk this week.
With a cardboard cutout of Kirby. What did you say to Kirby this week?
That's a real picture.
Oh, is it a
Kirby,
real picture? I'm sorry to impugn your real relationship.
It is a real picture of Kirby.
Yes.
It is.
It's a picture of it.
It's me and Kirby.
So what did you tell your friend Kirby this week?
Listen, I'm back on that line with Stetson.
Oh, here we go.
I'm back there again. I hope not to be. I was texting 1-800 emotional support.
Yes.
Otherwise,
during the game.
Yeah,
I was like Stetson Bennett. He was like, it's gonna be okay,
Yeah.
But when he's dropping the ball, it's, fumbling it just irritates me. But
maybe trying to do a little bit too much.
I think he's trying to do. Sometimes he tries to do a little too much, but it was frustrating. But I think, like you said, everybody's going to give Georgia their best shot. Yeah. And the best thing that could have ever happened is us to get out of that number 1 position.
Yes.
Yeah. And we did some uncharacteristic things like the jawing before the game. We don't do that.
Yep.
And so that tells you that this team probably needs a refocus and they probably got their attention.
Yeah,
sometime around
practice
halftime.
is probably pretty intense this week.
It's great to have the attention getting, and still you win instead of lose, right? Like that's what you want to have. So yes, I would not want to be a Georgia football player this week.
Yeah.
But
let me say that the emotional support line that Michael was calling tried to clarify the biggest issue right now with University of Georgia's, at least the offense, is the inconsistency on the offensive line. They just have not been able to put together a cohesive unit to go out there and play the type of football we're used to seeing. And that's run game or pass game. Now, I will say this. When the chips were down in that 4th quarter, and they had to have it, they lined up, what'd you call it, a little sugar huddle thing?
Sugar huddles.
Where they just run to the line and just
boom,
run to the line, boom. They took over the line of scrimmage. But up until that point, the line of scrimmage on both sides was owned by Missouri.
Yeah. And the one thing that has been something we hadn't talked about, but it's been evident in every game, is the fact that we can't get in the red zone and just power it in by running. Yeah. We couldn't do it against Oregon. We couldn't do it against Kent State. We couldn't do it against anybody.
Yep.
Yeah, and I do think, to me, that is a modern age football problem where you've got so many good athletes packed in.
Yep.
You really do have to have you've got to be able to throw or pass, or this is where your creativity comes into play is that red zone, because those days of being able to overpower somebody, I don't know if they're there anymore.
Yep.
But I want to give Missouri's defensive line credit and that defensive scheme. To me, this is when you're number 1, this is the problem that you face, is you could tell they had really schemed up a great plan. Yep. And you're going to face that again, although you may not face that against Auburn because they had LSU. But what do you guys think about this Auburn game? Are you going to see the same type of scheme, or what do you think Auburn's going to do, Randy?
I would be surprised if they didn't use it as at least a template. I mean, it worked for 3.5 quarters, basically, or 3 quarters. But Auburn's struggling. Now, there's just no way around it. I mean, and their struggles are on the offensive side of the ball, which – and I want to go back to the Missouri game for a second. I want to compliment the Missouri offensive line, other than the dirty play against Carter, which something needs to be done about that. That was wrong. But they played very well against that defensive line, and I think they exploited the youth that was out there for Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia's got players, but the experience is not there yet.
Yeah.
And I think the defense will be fine with some time. But the template that Missouri used, again, if it worked, why not try it? I mean, at this point, if I'm Auburn, you got to hang your hat on something that gives you hope.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they can do it of their own accord.
Yeah,
And the one thing too, I liked toward the end of the game when they just, when they were coming to the line, running the play, because we talked about it on Friday nights. The offenses have morphed into this deal that was supposed to be this West Coast fast-paced shotgun. But if you notice, it takes longer to run a play now in these new offenses because they're pointing out here and there, and then they're walking up and changing the play, and they're looking to the sidelines, and you wonder why there's so many linemen procedure because they can't stand, they can't stay in one spot that long.
Offensive linemen will tell you, like, go ahead and run 100 yards, and then constrict your breathing by staying perfectly still with shoulder pads on, and see how that goes.
And so you see that more and more in Georgia. Like we say, Bennett was trying to do so much. He's pointing out this, where's the Mike linebacker, where's the free safety, and then they change the play, then they come back, and so when they came out and just said, we're going to just run this football, you saw what they did, and they went right down the field.
And you may see more of that. I wouldn't have a problem with it, too, because, again, Georgia needs to establish the run game. We've talked about that since the first game. I think the pass game, once they get the receivers for the deep threat back on the field, which is supposed to this week, they got to be able to run the ball. Of course, McIntosh has been banged up. Kendall Milton's been hurt. I mean, Dejon Edwards has been the biggest weapon that they've had in that backfield to this point. So, again, hopefully, I think Auburn will be fine. But this is one of those games traditionally, you don't ever know what's going to happen when you play this team.
Right.
Used to be whoever played in the other one's stadium is who won. The visiting team.
It's been a wild
You remember
series.
a couple of years ago, they blew us out in the regular season, and then we beat them for the SEC championship.
Yeah.
So you never know about this game.
Yeah.
You never know.
Speaking of never know, I guess you've got Florida State, who lost to Wake Forest. I'm not bitter about pass interference calls, but no, I mean, I think Wake Forest is a good team. And speaking of scheme, Florida State runs a lot of counters and pulls of their guards and tackles, and Wake Forest really disrupted that. Did a good job with that. So a lot of people are down on the FSU defense, but if you held Wake to 31. And really only 10 points in the second half. If you held them to that, I mean, Clemson held them to 38, and then even more in overtime. So I was happy with that. Not really happy with the offense of missing opportunities there. But now you got to play a physical NC State team. If I'm sitting there rating the physicality of a team, I'm going to go like, Georgia, Bama, Utah, and then I'm putting NC State fourth. That is a physical brand. So you've got to tub. You're not favored. That you're given 3 points.
We talk about injuries with Georgia.
Yeah.
FSU has been fighting.
Oh, you could really see it.
Oh my gosh! And I think that played a huge part in this football game. And let me say this too. I don't want to use their back thing.
No.
But FSU is night and day difference from what we saw last year. They're putting up a fight. And Wake Forest is a solid football team. Now, they're a good football team. And FSU, I think if they had all their pieces there to be able to play with, I think they have a shot at winning that game for sure.
In the second half, you saw our stud defensive end who was nursing a knee injury, Jared Verse. And, when you saw pressure on the quarterback, that was him, basically. He's going to be
well, through the years, Bowden always had a little trouble with Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest has always played for us that well.
They're a good program. I mean, if you look, you come draft time, you'll see a lot of you'll see 4 or 5 guys drafted.
But the beautiful thing about FSU now, I don't care if it's NC State, Clemson, whomever. Those teams are going to look at FSU and go, okay, we better be paying attention to this.
Yeah, they are.
Because they've got the potential to sneak up on those guys and beat any one of them. If they put their game together and they've got the pieces on the field, if they've got their bullets in the chamber, they've got a shot.
Yeah, so they go to NC State.
Going to be tough.
And they're going to have to find a way to run, I think. They really hang their hat on the run game and weren't able to. You're going to have to scheme it different. Wake had a 3-man front and would really kind of get penetration to negate all the pulling and stuff like that. So be interesting to see how we counter that. But anyway,
But they're better. They're better. and getting
they're better. They are better, and playing the way they should be playing. And
Yep.
but you just don't have a very thin margin of error.
Yep.
If you recruit at Georgia's level or Alabama's level, you can lose a couple of guys and you're fine. But you're not there yet. But it's good to see.
Yep.
Good to
Being
see them there.
competitive. Being competitive.
Yep. And we got 2 tough games here: NC State and Clemson coming up. So. But now we got yes/no coming up.
Here we go.
So
Here we go.
Bring it on.
all right,
Bring it
here
on.
we go.
We
Michael
get
Best.
True or false?
Michael Best, Tennessee is for real. Tennessee is for real.
I
They're
think they are.
ranked number 8.
I think they're for real.
Think they're
Yeah,
for real?
Yes.
Are they Georgia's biggest challenge
Yes.
in regular season?
Yes.
I would say yes to both of those.
Remember who said they were the second best team? What was it? Or the
Yeah.
third best team in the SEC
Yeah.
a couple weeks back? Remember?
That was you.
Just
That
saying.
was you. Yeah, over Kentucky. So, all right, good job, Randy. So, unranked Texas versus unranked Oklahoma will be common when they join the SEC. This is the first time since 1998 that Texas and Oklahoma are playing unranked. Is it going to be common when they join the SEC?
No, it won't be common. There's too much money under both of those programs for it to be something that's going to last for forever. So
Yeah.
maybe temporarily, but not
You
common.
say no?
I'll say, that Texas is one of mine and Jim's favorite teams. And, I'll say no.
Yeah, we needed Jim here to answer that. But I definitely say no as well. But really weird to see Oklahoma struggle. But a lot of times, a lot of people are blaming Venables. But a lot of times when a coach may leave, there could have been like underlying issues that you don't
Right,
see
right.
that now you see with a new coach.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's the case, but it looks very familiar. If you're an FSU fan, that may look familiar to you. All right, Michael, Texas A&M at Bama. That's another big game this week. It will be closer than most people think.
Yes.
You say yes, Randy?
No.
You say no?
No.
I say yes for no reason at all. I just
There you
just
go.
because college football is college football, and Alabama is favored by some crazy amount.
Yeah.
It's like 24 points or something. But
Texas A&M is just really struggling offensively right now. Of
Yeah.
course, if Bryce Young's not able to play,
Yeah.
it makes Alabama a little more one-dimensional because the guy they've got playing in his stead is more of a runner.
yeah.
But I don't know that, anyway, I don't think it's going to be close. We'll see.
All right. Last question is about Wake Forest and how many pass interference calls they seem to get. Before I ask a question,
Where's Mike
do
Gammons?
you think? I know we need Mike. Do you really think they kind of get taught to draw pass interference calls?
Sure.
Do you think
Absolutely.
so?
Absolutely.
I do. And they do a good job of it.
Yeah.
And that's coaching, by the way.
That's exactly right.
It is not their fault. So, anyway, Wake Forest is playing Army this week, and somehow they will draw a pass interference against FSU. Do you think it'll happen this week, Randy?
I'm going to say yes.
I think it's Southgate. Hold on a minute. We have pass interference.
Hold over from last week.
Hold over.
One we didn't call last week.
That's right. We forgot that
Sure,
one.
there will be.
Yeah, and knowing college football, Army is terrible. Wake Forest has played 2 really good games against. Really should have beat Clemson. Really soundly beat Florida State, and they'll probably struggle against a hapless Army.
Well, you
That's
can't
just
get
college
up every
football for
single
you.
week now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough. So especially if you've got residual penalties getting called against you, that's tough now.
That's, all right. Well, hey, we enjoyed it. Glad we missed our.
Hopefully Jim
our
will be
message.
back.
Jim, hope you be
Yeah,
back.
hope you'll be back.
Michael did you right though. He did you proud.
That's right.
Did I, though?
We try to maintain
two
your.
alumnus
He
right
repped
there.
the T.
That's
I
right.
rep the T, baby.
There we go. Hey, appreciate y'all. Go out and celebrate what's good, and we'll see you next week on the Press Box.